I never expected my sister's wedding to end with her palm striking my face, but there I stood in the Waldorf Astoria ballroom, 200 pairs of eyes fixed on the red mark blooming across my cheek. The crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting fractured light across champagne glasses that had frozen halfway to parted lips. A waiter's tray clattered somewhere in the sudden silence. Blythe's voice still rang in the air. "You're nothing but selfish." My sister, the bride, trembled in her designer gown, her perfectly manicured hand still raised. Camden smirked beside her, his new gold wedding band catching the light. The string quartet had stopped playing mid-song, their bows hovering uncertainly above their instruments. I touched my cheek, maintaining the composure that 15 years of litigation practice had drilled into me. The sting wasn't from the slap, it was from what had led to this moment, just minutes before. "Renata." My father had cornered me by the 5-tiered wedding cake, his voice carrying that familiar, patronizing tone. "We need to discuss your penthouse situation." I'd known this was coming. The hints had been dropping for weeks, pointed comments about Blythe and Camden's housing search, remarks about family helping family. "This isn't the time or place," I'd said, scanning the room for an escape route. Mother materialized at his elbow, her champagne glass trembling slightly. "After everything we've done for you, Renata, your sister needs that penthouse to start her real family." The words hit like ice water. My real family. Because apparently my single status at 35 made me less real, less worthy of the home I'd earned through 12 years of 100-hour weeks and sacrificed weekends. "That penthouse," I'd replied carefully, "is the result of my sacrifices. I earned it." "Sacrifices?" Mother's laugh was brittle. "We supported you through law school." "You paid my first semester's tuition," I corrected. "I worked and took loans for the rest, while attending every one of Blythe's emergencies." The memories surfaced unbidden. My law school graduation, empty seats where my parents should have been because Blythe had another anxiety attack. My first major legal victory at 27, celebrating alone because they were at Blythe's therapy session. The day I bought my Gold Coast penthouse, no family there to share my triumph because Blythe needed help moving into her third apartment that year. "Your sister struggles," Father said. "You've always been the strong one." "Strong doesn't mean unlimited." I squared my shoulders. "And this discussion is over." That's when Blythe swooped in, Camden trailing behind her like a smug shadow. The train of her wedding dress whispered across the marble floor. "They told you?" Her voice carried that familiar whine. "About the penthouse? I knew you'd understand, Rennie. Camden's firm is restructuring, and the market is so awful." I said no. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. "No?" Blythe's perfect makeup couldn't hide her mounting color. But we need it. We're starting a family." "Then start it in a home you can afford." The words came out steady, measured. "My answer is no." That's when it happened. Blythe's face contorted, tears threatening her mascara. "You're nothing but selfish." The slap echoed across the ballroom. Phones appeared like fireflies, recording the moment. I heard giggling from Blythe's bridesmaids' table, saw my parents' studied silence. No defense for their eldest daughter. From table 9, Judge Thompson set down his fork deliberately. Sarah Williams, the Tribune reporter who'd covered my last big case, was already reaching for her notepad. They'd witnessed everything. My cheek burned, but my hands were steady as I reached for my phone. This wasn't just about a slap. This was about years of enabling, of expectations, of treating my success as a resource to be mined for Blythe's benefit. The ballroom remained frozen, waiting for my response. Would I scream, create a scene, break down in tears? I did none of those things. Instead, I opened my messaging app and began to type. Because while they might see me as the family ATM, they'd forgotten one crucial detail. I wasn't just their dutiful daughter anymore. I was Renata Carlisle, litigation attorney. And I'd learned long ago that some battles aren't won with screaming, they're won with documentation, witnesses, and carefully chosen silence. Let them think they'd won this round. The string quartet started playing again, nervous notes filling the awkward silence. Guests returned to their champagne, though their eyes kept darting my way. Blythe's tears had already started, right on cue, Camden pulling her close as she buried her face in his shoulder. My mother stepped forward, hand outstretched. "Renata dear, let's not..." I held up my hand, stopping her mid-sentence. The gesture was calm, controlled, and absolute. Then I turned and walked toward the exit, my heels clicking against marble in perfect rhythm. Behind me, whispers rose like smoke. They thought they knew me, the reliable daughter, the successful sister, the endless resource. But they'd forgotten something essential. I didn't become a top litigator by backing down from a fight. And this fight was just beginning. The marble hallway outside the Waldorf's grand ballroom offers blessed silence after the charged atmosphere inside. My phone feels cool and solid in my hands as I lean against a gilded mirror, its ornate frame pressing into my shoulder blade. The red mark on my cheek has already begun to fade, but the weight of what just happened settles heavy in my chest. I open my secure messaging app and type to my private professional group chat. Documented incident at sister's wedding. Physical assault, slap, following demand to surrender property. Witnesses include Judge Thompson, Tribune reporter Sarah Williams. Family attempting coerced property transfer. Preserving evidence. Advice welcome. My thumb hovers over send for just a moment before pressing down. The message whooshes away and I watch the little dots appear as my colleagues begin typing responses. Miss Carlyle. Judge Thompson's measured voice makes me look up. He stands in the hallway's arch, his bow tie slightly askew, holding 2 glasses of water. He offers me one. I saw everything, Renata. His use of my first name carries the weight of 15 years of courtroom rapport. That was assault, plain and simple. And the property demand. He shakes his head. You have options. Thank you, Your Honor. I accept the water, knowing better than to discuss potential legal action with a sitting judge. But his presence here, his quiet support, speaks volumes. Renata? Sarah Williams appears at his elbow, reporter's notepad already in hand. Her sharp eyes take in the scene. The judge, my composed stance, the phone still recording evidence. This isn't right. What happened in there? It fits a pattern, doesn't it? The question hits closer than she knows. Last year's emergency flashes through my mind. Blythe sobbing over FaceTime about her mounting credit card debt. Our parents emptying $80,000 from their retirement account to cover it. She's having such a hard time. Mother had said when I objected, not everyone can be as financially comfortable as you. Comfortable. As if 100-hour weeks and sacrificed relationships were comfortable. I appreciate your concern, I tell Sarah, my litigation voice smooth and controlled. But I'm not ready to make any statements. She hands me her business card, expensive cardstock between manicured fingers. Some stories need to be told when you're ready. Especially stories about financial abuse in high-achieving families. Before I can respond, the ballroom doors burst open. My father strides out, his tuxedo jacket straining across his shoulders as he plants himself between me and the exit. You're ruining your sister's special day. His voice carries that familiar tone of absolute authority. The same one he used when telling me to skip my law school graduation because Blythe needed someone to help her move. Again. I think, I say carefully, her special day was ruined when she chose violence over respect. Violence? Blythe appears behind him, mascara tracking down her cheeks. You've always been jealous of me, just because you're alone and bitter. That's enough. The words come out sharp enough to cut glass. Mother materializes next, her social smile firmly in place despite the drama unfolding. Darling, give her the keys or don't come home for Christmas. It's that simple. Simple. Like missing my first Supreme Court argument was simple because Blythe had another anxiety attack. Like watching them drain their retirement for her shopping addiction was simple. My phone buzzes, messages flooding in from my law partners. Michaela's name appears first. Just saw the video. I always knew your family was toxic. Need backup? The hallway feels crowded now with witnesses and family, truth and lies, past and present colliding in this gilded space. A notification pops up, the first social media post of the slap already circulating. The timestamp feels like a court exhibit. I'll remember this choice you've made, I tell them, my voice steady. All of you. Then I walk away, my heels clicking against marble like a judge's gavel. Behind me, I hear my mother's intake of breath, my father's frustrated growl, Blythe's theatrical sob. But ahead of me lies the exit, and beyond that, a future where family doesn't mean sacrifice everything, where boundaries aren't seen as betrayal, where my success isn't treated like a community resource to be redistributed at will. My phone keeps buzzing with messages of support. Colleagues offering legal advice, Judge Thompson's quiet advocacy, Sarah Williams' promise to tell the truth when I'm ready. These are the allies I've earned through years of professional integrity, not the family who sees my strength as an excuse for endless taking. In the Waldorf's elegant lobby, I paused to send one final message to my professional group. Proceeding with documentation and strategic response. Will not engage emotionally. This ends now. Because sometimes the strongest response isn't a slap back or a public scene. Sometimes it's simply standing your ground, documenting the truth, and letting consequences unfold naturally. After all, that's what good attorneys do. We build cases, brick by brick, truth by truth, until justice becomes inevitable. In this case, it's just beginning. Sunday morning light streams through my penthouse windows, casting long shadows across the Brazilian cherry floors I chose myself. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since I left the Waldorf last night, each notification a ripple in what's becoming a social media tsunami. The video plays again on my screen, Blythe's manicured hand connecting with my cheek, the sharp crack echoing through the ballroom's perfect acoustics. Give me the keys to your penthouse. Her voice shrieks, distorted through phone speakers but unmistakable. The timestamp reads 8:47 p.m. I was there. She assaulted her own sister at her wedding. Justice for Renata. Chicago attorney physically attacked for refusing to give away her home. Witnessed this firsthand. Disgusting entitlement from bride and family. The posts multiply like bacteria in a petri dish. My inbox fills with messages from wedding guests, suddenly remembering their moral courage. I totally would have said something, but it happened so fast. Always thought your sister was unstable. Your parents should be ashamed. My voicemail indicator blinks. Blythe's message, timestamped 3 a.m. How could you embarrass me like this? My wedding day, Renata. You've always been jealous because I actually have someone who loves me. Camden says you planned this whole thing to upstage me. Just wait until Daddy hears. Delete. The email from my parents arrives precisely at 9 a.m., as if maintaining proper business hours might lend authority to their demands. Renata. This situation requires immediate correction. Your sister's special day has been irreparably damaged by your dramatic behavior. We expect you to issue a public statement retracting any implications of wrongdoing and apologizing for the misunderstanding. Family loyalty demands nothing less. Mother and father. I close my laptop, but not before catching the notification that justice for Renata is trending in Chicago legal circles. Monday morning brings the first tremors of consequence. Michaela texts me before my first coffee. Blythe's firm put her on administrative leave. Something about conduct unbecoming and viral reputational damage. An hour later, Camden's broker called. Ethics review pending. Apparently attacking family members for their property raises red flags in real estate. The country club president's name appears on my caller ID. Miss Carlisle, I wanted you to know we've had a difficult conversation with your parents. The board has certain expectations about member conduct. My own office line lights up continuously. We saw how you handled that situation, potential clients say. We need an attorney with that kind of integrity. Judge Thompson's secretary emails. His Honor would like to refer the Morrison case to your firm. He specifically requested you as lead counsel. At lunch, Michaela spreads documents across my conference room table, her reading glasses perched on her nose. The assault case is clear-cut. Multiple witnesses, video evidence, prior pattern of financial exploitation. Defamation too, given their public statements. And, I prompt, knowing my friend sees beyond legal strategy. And you're not going to pursue any of it, she removes her glasses. Because you're better than that. But Renata, not pursuing charges doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. Sarah Williams' email arrives as if on cue. Family entitlement, a modern epidemic. Your story could help others set boundaries. Consider it? I type my response. I won't pursue charges, but I won't recant the truth either. The week unfolds like a carefully orchestrated symphony of consequences. Judge Thompson and his wife invite me to dinner. Small gathering, just a few colleagues who understand professional integrity. 3 new clients specifically reference the incident. We need counsel who stands their ground. My penthouse, the source of so much conflict, feels different now. Each piece of furniture, each carefully chosen artwork, represents not just success, but sanctuary. A space earned through dedication, protected through principle. The family facade begins to crack. A colleague sends me a photo of Blythe and Camden arguing outside their apartment, her designer bag swinging wildly as she gestures. Mother's bridge partner mentions the awkward silence at their weekly game. Father's golf buddies start finding reasons to reschedule their standing tea times. Then comes Mother's text, precisely worded, "Perhaps we should talk. This situation has become uncomfortable." I wait an hour before responding, remembering all the times I rushed to smooth things over, to be the reasonable one. Not this time. I'm available when you're ready to respect my boundaries. All of them. The sun sets on my penthouse, painting the skyline in shades of amber and gold. My phone stays quiet now, the initial storm of reactions settling into something more substantial. Change. Real change, born not from dramatic confrontation but from simply standing still, holding my ground while the world adjusts its axis. Michaela sends one final text before bed. "You good?" I look around my home, my earned, chosen, protected space, and reply, "Better than good. I'm free." Because sometimes winning isn't about the fight. Sometimes it's about remaining steadfast while others face their own reflections in the mirror you've held up. Sometimes justice arrives not through legal action, but through the quiet power of unvarnished truth. And truth, once spoken, has a way of completing its own mission. The morning talk show's soft lighting can't quite mask Blythe's red-rimmed eyes. She perches on the cream-colored sofa, a portrait of wounded innocence in pale blue cashmere. "It was just a terrible misunderstanding," she tells Chicago Am's sympathetic host. "My sister and I have always been close." The stress of the wedding, emotions running high, her voice catches. "I just wanted to share a special moment in our family home." My coffee goes cold as I watch the performance. The show carefully edited out any mention that the family home she wanted to share is my penthouse, purchased with my money, in my name. "Michaela, I don't need to look up when my office door opens." "How bad?" "Your sister's publicist is good," she says, dropping a stack of printouts on my desk. They're spinning it as, "Privileged sister refuses to help struggling newlyweds." But the video's still out there. People remember what they saw. My phone buzzes. Another text from an unknown number. "Heartless bitch. Hope you're happy destroying your family." Delete. The intercom chirps. "Miss Carlyle? Your parents are here. They don't have an appointment, but..." "Tell them I'm in depositions all day." The lie slides out smoothly. "And Sarah, please remember, no unscheduled visitors, family or otherwise." "Yes, ma'am." A pause. "They're saying it's about a family emergency?" "The emergency is that their usual tactics aren't working," Michaela mutters. I straighten papers that don't need straightening. "The same response, Sarah, thank you." Through my office window, I watch them leave the building. Mother's Hermes scarf flutters in the wind, father's shoulders rigid with familiar disapproval. They pause by their Mercedes, clearly expecting me to rush down to make things right, like always. Not this time. The Chicago Legal Monthly arrives on my desk that afternoon. Our firm's feature article leads with a photo of me in court, focused, professional, commanding. The piece never mentions the wedding incident, but Judge Thompson's quote speaks volumes. In an era where personal integrity often takes a backseat to expediency, attorneys like Renata Carlisle remind us that true success is built on unwavering principles. My email pings with meeting requests from 3 Fortune 500 companies. "Your reputation for ethical leadership impressed our board," one CEO writes. Camden's LinkedIn update appears in my feed. "Seeking new opportunities in luxury real estate." The comments below are telling: canceled contracts, concerned clients. Consequences have their own gravity. "Did you see this?" Michaela forwards Sarah Williams' latest article. The headline reads, "Family entitlement in the age of accountability, when because we're family isn't enough." I scan the piece, noting its careful balance. No names, but the message is clear. Boundaries matter regardless of blood ties. Mother's text arrives during dinner. "We've found an excellent family therapist. Dr. Harrison has helped many families heal these kinds of rifts. Tuesday at 2? I set down my fork, considering. Their chosen therapist, their chosen time, their chosen narrative. The pattern continues. "Ren?" Blythe's number appears on my phone. "Please, my marriage is falling apart. Camden's so angry. If we could just stay in your guest room for a while." "No," The word comes out soft but absolute. Just until things settle. We wouldn't be in your way. You're never even home. The answer is no, Blythe. Not temporarily, not partially, not at all. Why are you being so cold? We're family. Yes, we are. And family should respect boundaries. She sniffs. Mother says you're just being stubborn. If you really loved us. I do love you, I interrupt, surprising us both with the truth of it. But I won't set myself on fire to keep you warm. The line goes quiet, then. That's very rehearsed. Very lawyer-like. It's very honest. And it's final. Later, I draft my response to Mother's therapy invitation. I appreciate the gesture, but I won't attend therapy designed to make me more compliant. When you're ready to discuss mutual respect and genuine boundaries, I know an excellent counselor who specializes in family dynamics. She has no connection to our social circle and no preconceptions about our situation. I'm willing to rebuild bridges, but not at the expense of my self-respect. The choice is yours. Send. My phone stays silent after that. Through the penthouse windows, Chicago's lights glitter like scattered diamonds. Each one represents a choice. Thousands of people making thousands of decisions about who they are, what they'll accept, how they'll live. Michaela texts. Speaking at the Women in Law conference next month. They specifically requested you as co-presenter. Topic: Professional integrity in personal conflicts. I smile, remembering all the times I thought strength meant fighting. Now I know better. Sometimes strength is simply standing still, letting the truth do its work while you tend your own garden. I'm in, I reply, watching a plane's lights trace a steady path across the night sky. Like that pilot, I know my course now. Let the turbulence come. I am my own true north. Le Petit Jardin's soft lighting bathes the private dining room in amber warmth. I've celebrated countless victories here, making partner, winning impossible cases, closing career-defining deals. The irony isn't lost on me that my family would choose this space for their final stand. Miss Carlyle, your party has arrived? Antoine murmurs, his professional mask slipping just enough to show concern. They're requesting the Bordeaux you usually order for special occasions. Thank you, Antoine. Please hold off on the wine for now. They file in like actors taking their marks. Mother leading with practiced grace, father's hand at her elbow, Blythe dabbing artfully at her eyes. The surprise is grandmother Carlyle, moving deliberately with her carved mahogany cane. Really, Renata? Mother adjusts her pearls. Making your grandmother come all this way? I didn't make anyone come anywhere. I butter a piece of bread, maintaining the rhythm of my usual Thursday dinner. In fact, I don't recall extending any invitations. Because you're avoiding us. Blythe drops into the chair across from me, her entrance perfectly timed with Camden's arrival. We had to do something. I take another bite of bread. Wait. Sweetheart. Father leans forward, his CEO voice in full effect. We know you're upset, but this situation has gone far enough. You're hurting the family. The family is hurting itself, grandmother says quietly, easing into her seat. Her eyes meet mine, sharp as ever. Mother, please. Father's jaw tightens. We're trying to resolve this reasonably. Camden places a leather portfolio on the table. I had my friend Jason draw these up. He's brilliant with real estate law. It's a fair compromise. A compromise implies mutual negotiation. I observe, finishing my bread. Don't be difficult, darling. Mother's smile stretches thin. We've already told the Worthingtons you're helping Blythe and Camden get established. Everyone's so relieved you're being sensible. My phone buzzes. Michaela's text. Backup documentation delivered to Judge Thompson's chambers. Green light whenever you need it. I dab my lips with the napkin, taking in the tableau before me. My family, arranged like a society portrait, waiting for me to fall in line. How many times have I seen this scene? How many times have I yielded? Let me share some documentation of my own. I open my briefcase, removing a precisely organized folder. First, statements from 12 wedding guests regarding the unauthorized entry attempt. Second, security footage from my building showing 3 subsequent attempts. Third, transcripts of 17 phone calls containing threats and emotional manipulation. Threats? Blythe's voice rises. We were trying to reason with you. The law has very specific definitions of harassment and coercion. I continue methodically. Judge Thompson was particularly interested in the pattern of escalation. You went to Thompson? Father's face reddens. About a family matter? When family matters become legal issues, yes. I meet his gaze steadily. Just as Blythe's former employer felt compelled to address her actions when they affected their professional reputation. The color drains from Blythe's face. What do you mean, former employer? The termination letter should arrive tomorrow. Your public attempts to manipulate the situation violated several ethics clauses. I turned to Camden. Similarly, the Real Estate Commission found your recent behavior concerning enough to warrant a 6-month probation. You vindictive bitch! Camden half rises, but Father's hand clamps his shoulder. And the club? Mother whispers, her fingers white around her water glass. The board made their own decision after reviewing the facts. I merely provided documentation when asked. You've ruined everything. Blythe shoves back her chair, mascara tracking down her cheeks. We're your family. You were supposed to help us. I tried. The words come softly, weighted with years of trying. I offered career guidance, professional connections, emotional support, but it was never enough, was it? You wanted the rewards without the work, the success without the sacrifice. Sacrifice? Father's laugh is bitter. We always knew you'd use your success against us. Your mother and I sacrificed everything. What exactly did you sacrifice, Lorraine? Grandmother's voice cuts through the tension. Your daughter worked 3 jobs through law school. She built her practice while you focused on country club committees. Arthur, you refused to co-sign her first apartment lease because it might impact your credit. Mother's lips tremble. We gave her every advantage. You gave her expectations. Grandmother's cane taps once, decisive. Renata gave her self-determination. There's a difference. I stand, gathering my things with practiced efficiency. My door remains open when you're ready to respect who I am. Not who you need me to be, not who you wish I was. Who I am. Renata. Blythe's voice cracks. Please. I do love you, I say, echoing our last conversation. But love without respect isn't love at all. It's just another form of control. The evening air carries the first hint of autumn when I step outside. Antoine appears with my coat, his quiet bonne soirée, carrying a note of approval. My phone lights up with grandmother's text. You did well, child. Some bridges need burning so better ones can be built. Behind me I hear Blythe's sobs, mother's protests, father's angry commands. But they sound distant now, like echoes from another life. Ahead, the city stretches out, full of possibilities built on truth rather than obligation. I flag down a taxi, giving my office address. There's a brief to finish, justice to be served in measured words and careful arguments. The work sustains me, as it always has. Some might call it cold justice, this careful documentation of consequences. But true justice isn't about temperature. It's about balance, about restoration, about making space for something real to grow from the ashes of comfortable lies. The taxi pulls away from the curb, leaving my family's carefully constructed reality crumbling in my wake. Sometimes love looks like walking away. Sometimes strength means letting the truth do its work, even when truth feels like betrayal to those who've built their lives on denial. I am my grandmother's granddaughter, after all. Some lessons skip a generation to find their true heir. Spring sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse, catching on the new art pieces I've carefully selected. Gone are mother's insisted upon pastels and Blythe's scattered attempts at bohemian chic. The space breathes now, clean lines and rich textures reflecting the person I've always been beneath the careful compromise. The transformation is remarkable, Judge Thompson observes, accepting a glass of wine from his wife, Helen, though I must say, the host remains the most improved element. Robert, Helen chides gently, but she's smiling. Though he's right, Renata, you seem lighter. The dinner party flows around my expansive dining table, a handcrafted piece that replaced the family heirloom I finally returned to my parents' keeping. Michaela catches my eye from where she's describing her latest case to Sarah Williams, whose series on family financial boundaries earned her the Midwest Journalism Award last month. Speaking of lighter, Sarah says, "Have you seen the photos from your parents' estate sale? The country club set is buzzing about their downsizing journey." I haven't. I arranged the last place setting, each element precise. Grandmother mentioned they found a condo that suits their new circumstances. The unspoken truth hangs in the air. Their circumstances changed dramatically after covering Blythe's mounting debts. Camden's real estate license suspension led to their separation 3 months ago. Last I heard, she'd moved back home, still insisting the world owed her better. Your grandmother's quite something, Helen says warmly. The way she stood up at the Bar Association dinner last week to introduce you. My granddaughter, the attorney, Michaela quotes, mimicking grandmother's proud tone. Simple, elegant, true. Truth has a way of being all three. I adjust a wayward fork, though it took years of therapy to understand that. The doorbell chimes, right on time, as always. Grandmother's Sunday visits have become a cherished ritual, her carved cane tapping a steady rhythm as Antoine, who now manages my private events, helps her with her coat. Everyone's speaking of your Thompson case, she announces, settling into her usual seat. 3 generations of women finally free to build their own legacies, thanks to your work. They did the hard part. I pour her preferred tea into the cup I keep just for her. I just help them understand their rights. Rights and responsibilities. Judge Thompson adds, the balance you strike in your practice is remarkable, Renata. It's why the Ethics Board selected you for this year's Distinguished Service Award. The conversation shifts to next week's ceremony, but my mind drifts to the speech I've prepared. How do you distill decades of learning into 5 minutes? How do you explain that sometimes the greatest service is saying no? Later, after the guests have gone and grandmother's driver has collected her, I stand on my balcony overlooking the city lights. The spring air carries possibility, so different from the weight of expectations that used to press against my shoulders. My phone buzzes, mother's weekly attempt at contact. The messages vacillate between guilt and anger, each one proving why my boundaries must stand. I send it to voicemail, adding another brick to the wall of my peace. In my home office, once a guest room kept ready for Blythe's dramatic midnight arrivals, I review applications for the first-generation legal scholars program I've established. Young women whose families don't understand their drive, their refusal to settle for less than they've earned. In their letters, I see echoes of my own journey. Success isn't measured by what we give up to please others. I practice softly, testing the words for my upcoming speech, but by the integrity with which we live our truth. The words feel right, earned through every difficult no, every careful documentation of crossing boundaries, every therapy session unpacking the difference between love and control. I think of the young attorneys I mentor now, teaching them to recognize the subtle manipulation tactics I once mistook for family devotion. My desk holds a new photo, grandmother and me at last month's Women's Shelter fundraiser, both of us looking directly at the camera, spines straight, smiles genuine. Beside it sits the key to my penthouse, no longer a point of contention but a symbol of sovereignty. The city stretches out below, a tapestry of lights and shadows. Somewhere out there, Blythe is likely plotting her next attempt at financial resurrection. Mother is probably at her smaller dining table, polishing silver that no longer impresses her reduced social circle. Father, I hear, spends long hours at his club, though his membership has been quietly downgraded. But their stories are no longer mine to manage. My piece was purchased at full price, paid in the currency of unwavering boundaries and unflinching truth. Some might call it cold, this careful distance I maintain. But there's warmth in authenticity, heat in the friction of growth. Tomorrow, I'll meet with another young lawyer struggling to balance family expectations with professional integrity. I'll share what I've learned, that family isn't defined by who shares your DNA, but by who respects your dignity. That love without boundaries isn't love at all, it's consumption. The night air carries the scent of blooming trees from the park below. Spring in Chicago always feels like a rebellion, life pushing through concrete with stubborn determination. I've become like those trees, my roots breaking through the foundations of family mythology to find solid ground. What would you say? I whisper to the city lights. To the person watching who feels trapped by family obligations, who measures their worth in others' approval. The answer comes in grandmother's voice, sharp with wisdom. Tell them that dignity, once reclaimed, grows stronger than guilt. Tell them that truth, however painful, nourishes deeper roots than comfortable lies. I close my balcony door, securing it with the same quiet certainty I now bring to all my boundaries. Inside, my home reflects the woman I've become, strong, certain, serene. The woman who finally understood that some bridges, once burned, light the way to better shores. A text from Michaela lights up my phone. Speech draft approved by committee. You're opening the conference. I smile, settling into my favorite chair with my laptop. There's work to do, justice to dispense, boundaries to maintain. The path forward is clear now, marked not by family expectations but by the steady light of self-respect. Some might call it a lonely path, this choice to prioritize truth over tradition, respect over relation. But as I look around my peaceful home, filled with the evidence of authentic achievement and genuine connections, I know better. This isn't loneliness, this is sovereignty. And it was worth every difficult step of the journey. I count the last $5 bill and place it carefully atop the stack. $400 exactly. The bills tremble slightly between my fingers as I slide them into the envelope marked rent in my neat handwriting. Another month, another payment to live in my own childhood bedroom. Downstairs, laughter erupts. Mom's musical chuckle followed by Dad's hearty boom. Then Lennox's voice, excited and breathless, discussing something about campus tours and dorm options. You should have seen the student center, Mom. It had this amazing atrium with... I press my lips together and try to focus on sealing the envelope, but my hands won't stop shaking. My small desk, the same one I've had since 6th grade, sits wedged between my narrow bed and the wall. The room feels smaller every month, shrinking with each rent payment, with each reminder that I am a tenant now, not a daughter. The theater department looked incredible, Lennox continues, her voice carrying up the stairs. And the dorms had these big windows overlooking the quad. Dad says something I can't quite catch, his voice warm with pride. I tuck the envelope into my worn leather wallet and check my phone. My shift at Sunflower Bakery starts at 5 a.m. The alarm is already set for 4:15. I stand up, my legs stiff from sitting cross-legged too long. My room is tidy by necessity, there's no space for clutter. A single bed with a faded quilt. The small desk. A dresser with 3 drawers. The bookshelf where I keep my textbooks, carefully arranged by course. No posters on the walls anymore, no trinkets, nothing unnecessary. We need to talk about your allowance while you're at school, honey, Mom says downstairs, her voice rising with excitement. I freeze. Allowance? I think $200 a month should cover your personal expenses, Dad adds. Textbooks we'll handle separately, of course. My throat tightens. Something hot and sharp presses behind my eyes. And Rick down at the dealership said he can hold that blazer for another 2 weeks. Dad continues, his voice brimming with satisfaction. Perfect timing for your graduation. Just the right SUV for a college freshman. We're so proud of you, sweetheart, Mom chimes in. We've been building this college fund since you were little. Nothing but the best for our girl. The college fund. The words hit me like a physical blow. I sink back onto my bed, the springs creaking beneath me. Why wasn't there a college fund for me? 1 year ago. Graduation day. The borrowed dress from my cousin Melissa because Mom said buying one wasn't practical. The tight smiles during photos. The serious talk afterward at our kitchen table. Dad straightening his tie, clearing his throat. Rhea, you're 18 now, an adult. And adults pay their way. Mom nodding, her eyes not quite meeting mine. $400 rent starts next month. You cover everything else, your phone, your car insurance, your food. I blink rapidly, pulling myself back to the present. The memory feels like a bruise I keep pressing, expecting it to hurt less each time. It never does. My alarm rings at 4:15 a.m. By 4:30, I'm biking through the dark streets to the bakery. At noon, I race to campus for classes until 4. Then freelance writing jobs until midnight, hunched over my laptop, eyes burning. The budgeting notebook sits open on my desk, its columns of numbers, a puzzle I can never quite solve. Rent, $400. Phone, $60. Car insurance, $112. Textbooks this semester, $327. The equation never balances. My designated shelf in the refrigerator stays nearly empty. The handwritten label, Rhea's Food, feels like a joke some weeks. I skip lunch to afford gas. Meanwhile, Lennox orders pizza with friends, the empty boxes left on the counter. Tonight, after a failed literature assignment and a double shift that left my feet aching, I stand in front of my small desk and stare at the envelope marked rent. The tears I've been holding back all day finally spill over. My fingers reach for my phone, scrolling to Grandpa Everett's number. My throat feels raw like I've swallowed glass, but I press the call button anyway. The phone rings 3 times before his warm, familiar voice answers. Rhea? Sweetheart, it's late. Everything okay? I open my mouth to speak, to say I'm fine, to apologize for calling at midnight. What comes out instead is a broken whisper. Grandpa, I can't do this anymore. My composure, the wall I've built so carefully these past 12 months, crumbles entirely. My shoulders shake with silent sobs as I clutch the phone, tears falling onto the envelope below. I'm so tired, I whisper, the admission breaking something loose inside me. I'm so tired. I sink deeper into my narrow bed, the springs protesting beneath me. Words stick in my throat. I'm here, he says, his tone shifting from sleepy to alert. Talk to me. I work 60 hours a week. The confession spills out, quiet but steady. Bakery at dawn, classes all afternoon, freelance writing until midnight, and my voice catches. I still pay them $400 rent to live in my childhood bedroom. The silence stretches between us, heavy with his unspoken concern. Sometimes I skip lunch, I whisper, shame heating my face despite no one being here to witness it. The shelf in the fridge with my name, it's almost always empty. I can't afford groceries and textbooks in the same week. Ria Elizabeth. His voice hardens slightly, the rare use of my middle name signaling his distress. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I stare at the ceiling, following a hairline crack I've memorized during countless sleepless nights. I thought it was normal, growing up, becoming responsible. The words taste bitter. Meanwhile, Dad's buying Lennox a brand new blazer for graduation. A college present, he called it. The line goes so quiet I check to make sure the call hasn't dropped. Then Grandpa clears his throat. What did you say about a blazer? For Lennox. They're holding it at the dealership. And they've set up a college fund for her. My voice wavers. $200 monthly allowance while she's at school. Another silence, longer this time. When Grandpa speaks again, his voice carries an edge I've rarely heard. But what about the college money? I frown, confused. What college money? The $42,000 we gave your parents last year. Each word falls like a stone. For your education. The world tilts sideways. My fingers go numb around the phone as his words echo in my head. $42,000. My education. What are you talking about? I barely recognize my own voice. Your grandmother and I withdrew it from our retirement account. The tremor in his voice betrays his age, his controlled anger. We transferred it directly to your parents' joint account last June. 2 weeks before your high school graduation. My free hand presses against my mouth, stifling a sound between a gasp and a sob. They promised it was for your college tuition, your apartment, your books. He pauses, breath ragged. They showed us brochures from state universities, talked about how proud they were of you. The room spins around me. Lennox's SUV. The mysterious college fund they've mentioned for her. The timing of their sudden demand for rent. I have the bank withdrawal receipt. Grandpa continues, his voice steadying with resolve. And the transfer confirmation with both their signatures. For Ria's future, your father wrote on the form. For hours after we hang up, I sit motionless on my bed. The envelope marked rent mocks me from my desk. I stare at my hands in the dim light calloused from kneading dough, nails cut short for practicality. Baker's hands. Working hands. Hands that have passed over thousands of dollars to the people who betrayed me. My laptop glows blue in the darkness as I pull up my bank account. The regular withdrawals stare back at me. $400 on the first of every month, labeled rent, 12 payments. $4,800 total. Nearly $5,000 while they sat on $42,000 meant for me. My mind calculates unbidden. Lennox's new blazer, approximately $34,000. Her monthly allowance, $200. The college fund, they mentioned downstairs. My money, my future, my sacrifice. The betrayal burns through my chest, settling into something harder and colder than I've ever felt before. Not just the money, though, that would be enough, but the calculated cruelty of it. Making me pay rent while holding my college fund. Watching me work myself to exhaustion while planning my sister's carefree campus life. My phone lights up with a text message. Grandpa, I'm coming to town tomorrow. First bus arrives at 10:15 a.m. Before I can respond, another message appears. This wasn't yours to lose, and it's not theirs to take. My thumb hovers over the screen. Fear mingles with the anger coursing through me. Confronting them means everything changes. The fragile pretense of family, shattered beyond repair. But something else rises within me. Unfamiliar yet somehow right, a fierce sense of justice that straightens my shoulders and steadies my hands. I'll meet you at the house, I type back. The plan forms between us in short, determined messages. Evidence, confrontation, consequences. For the first time in a year, I don't set my alarm for the bakery. Tomorrow requires a different kind of strength. Next day, Grandpa Everett stands on the porch, one hand resting on his worn leather briefcase. The autumn sun catches on his silver hair, casting a halo around his weathered face. His charcoal suit, the same one he's worn to every important family occasion for 20 years, hangs perfectly from his tall frame. I open the door before he can knock. You came. His eyes, so like mine, crinkle at the corners. I told you I would, didn't I? He enfolds me in a hug that smells of aftershave and peppermint. For a moment, I let myself lean into his strength. The sound of footsteps breaks us apart. Mom appears in the foyer, her smile too bright, her floral blouse freshly pressed. Everett, what a wonderful surprise. She kisses his cheek, careful not to smudge her lipstick. Robert, look who's here. Dad emerges from his study, extending his hand. Good to see you, Everett. You should have called ahead. We'd have made plans. This isn't a social call. Grandpa's voice remains pleasant, but his grip on the briefcase tightens. Mom's smile doesn't waver. Come in, come in. Lennox just got her SAT scores back. 98th percentile. Harvard's practically a guarantee now. Stanford's my first choice, Mom. Lennox bounces down the stairs in her cheerleading uniform, ponytail swinging. Hi, Grandpa. Hello, sweetheart. Grandpa nods at her, then looks directly at me. I stand straighter, drawing strength from his steady gaze. Robert, Diana need to discuss something important. He walks past them into the dining room without waiting for permission. My parents exchange a quick glance, confusion flickering between them. Mom gestures toward the kitchen. Lennox, honey, why don't you? She should hear this too. I say, my voice quieter than intended but firm enough to stop Mom mid-sentence. We follow Grandpa to the dining table, the same oak surface where, a year ago, my parents laid out their expectations of rent and adulthood. Grandpa sets his briefcase down with a soft thud and clicks open the brass latches. Dad sits at the head of the table, adjusting his collar. What's this about, Everett? I place my latest pay stubs beside Grandpa's bank records, the evidence of our separate realities laid bare on the dining room table. While you bought Lennox a new SUV, the words taste bitter on my tongue. While you set up her college fund. Dad's face reddens. You were supposed to be an adult, learning responsibility. Responsibility? Grandpa's voice rises. You stole her future and called it a lesson. Mom begins to cry, quiet tears that smear her mascara. We never meant. You meant exactly what you did, I interrupt, surprising myself. You decided I was worth less. The truth hangs in the air between us, undeniable and ugly. Grandpa stands, his height suddenly imposing. Here's what happens now. You will repay every cent of Ria's money or you're both out of the will. Dad's face pales. Everett, be reasonable. I'm being perfectly reasonable. Grandpa places his hand on my shoulder. And Ria, my home is yours, for as long as you need. No rent, no conditions. You can't just take her, Mom protests. Take her? Grandpa's voice drops to a whisper that somehow fills the room. She's 22 years old, Diana. You can't keep charging her to exist in your home while spending her college fund on her sister. A small sound draws our attention to the doorway. Lennox stands frozen, tears streaming down her face. Is that true? She asks, looking at our parents. You spent Ria's money on my car? Dad stands abruptly. This is between the adults, Lennox. No. My voice surprises me again with its strength. This concerns her too. She deserves to know what her future is being built on. Lennox's eyes meet mine across the room wide, shocked, and suddenly older. For the first time in years, I see my sister instead of my replacement. Pack your things, Ria, Grandpa says quietly. You don't have to spend another night here. Mom reaches for my hand. Honey, we can work this out. I step back from her touch, feeling the distance between us like a physical thing, a gap that's been growing for years while I pretended not to notice. No, I say simply. I don't think we can. Dad slams his palm against the table. This is ridiculous. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? Grandpa's voice cuts through the room like a blade. You've been stealing from your own daughter and calling it parenting. The silence that follows feels like the first honest moment this family has shared in years. The next day, the cardboard box sits open on my bed, half filled with the sparse collection I call possessions. My hands move methodically, folding each shirt with precision, stacking each book by size. The room feels different to daylighter somehow, as if the walls themselves anticipate my departure. I place my old teddy bear on top, his worn fur catching the afternoon light. For a moment, I hesitate, then tuck him firmly into the corner of the box. 22 feels too old for stuffed animals, but Grandpa won't judge. The note takes 3 attempts. First draft, too angry. Second, too apologetic. Third, just right. I'm moving in with Grandpa, don't call me. 5 years of accumulated resentment distilled into 9 plain words on college-ruled paper. I leave it centered on the stripped mattress, weighted down with my house key, the one I never needed to return because, technically, I've been a paying tenant. Downstairs, the house remains quiet. Mom at her book club. Dad at the office. Lennox at cheer practice. The perfect window for a clean break. I slide open my sock drawer and remove the small jewelry box buried beneath practical cotton pears. Inside gleams my graduation gift from Grandpa's silver pendant watch that belonged to Grandma. Too precious to wear daily. I saved it for special occasions. This qualifies. The kitchen counter looks immaculate as always. Mom's domain, where she creates elaborate meals for Dad and Lennox, while my shelf in the refrigerator holds yogurt cups and apples. I place my key beside the fruit bowl, metal against polished granite. The sound feels final. No note here. No explanation beyond the simple absence of my presence. I carry the box to my Karth, ancient Corolla, purchased with my own bakery wages. The passenger seat accepts my box without complaint. One trip, 22 years condensed to a single cardboard container. Something about that feels both pathetic and liberating. As I back out of the driveway, I don't look in the rearview mirror. Some views aren't worth revisiting. The highway stretches before me, 30 minutes to Grandpa's house on the other side of town. Traffic moves steadily, ordinary people living ordinary Tuesday afternoons with no idea that my life just split into before and after. Grandpa waits on his porch, rocking chair creaking a steady rhythm. His silver hair catches sunlight, his weathered hands resting on denim-covered knees. At 74, he stands straighter than men 20 years younger, his carpenter's posture a testament to decades of honest work. There she is, he calls, voice warm as fresh bread. He doesn't rush toward me, doesn't make a fuss. Just waits while I park and gather my box. This all you bringing? He eyes the single container. Everything worth keeping. He nods, understanding the weight of unspoken things. Come on in then. Got your room ready. The house smells of coffee and old books, the familiar scent of my childhood sanctuary, small but impeccably maintained, with handcrafted bookshelves lining every available wall. Where my parents' home showcases status, Grandpa's showcases stories. He leads me down the short hallway to what had always been his study. The desk remains but has been pushed against the window. A twin bed with a blue quilt occupies the opposite wall. Simple, functional, mine. Figured you needed the desk for schoolwork. He shrugs, hands in pockets. Bathroom still where you remember. Kitchen's always open. Grandpa, my voice catches. None of that now. He pats my shoulder. Family takes care of family. Real family, that is. I place my box on the bed, suddenly conscious of how little I own. I can pay rent. I have savings now that. Absolutely not. His tone brooks no argument. You focus on finishing school. Store needs help anyway. 15 hours a week, we'll call it even. The bookstore. Everett's Books and Curiosities. The downtown cornerstone he's run for 40 years. My childhood refuge of hidden corners and endless adventures. Deal. I extend my hand formally and he shakes it with a chuckle. Dinner's at 6. Nothing fancy. Get yourself settled. Left alone, I unpack with deliberate care. Clothes in the small dresser, books on the empty shelf above the desk, laptop connected to the outlet. Each item placed with intention, marking territory in a way I never could in my childhood room. The bed welcomes me when I finally sit, springs accommodating rather than protesting. Through the window, sunlight filters through oak leaves, casting dappled shadows on hardwood floors. No alarm set for 4:15 a.m., no rent envelope waiting to be filled. Sleep finds me between one breath and the next, deeper and more complete than any I've known in years. Morning arrives without the shriek of alarms, birds outside the window, coffee scent drifting from the kitchen. My phone shows 7 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Dad, and a barrage of texts from Lennox ranging from confused to furious. I leave them all unanswered. 3 weeks later, Grandpa and I establish routines with surprising ease. Breakfast together, classes for me, store hours for him, dinner discussions about books and customers. Evenings of quiet companionship, him with crosswords, me with textbooks. The bookstore becomes my afternoon sanctuary, dusty shelves and regular customers offering stability my life had lacked. Word filters back through mutual acquaintances, Mom crying at church, Dad explaining my temporary breakdown to neighbors. The real news comes from Lennox's friends who visit the bookstore. Lennox told to get a part-time job. The SUV downgraded to a used sedan. College housing changed from private dorm to shared accommodation. The financial reality has finally hit home. Another week passes. Then 2. The calls taper but never cease entirely. Each missed connection builds a wall between past and present, brick by digital brick. One Thursday afternoon brings unexpected confrontation. The bookstore bell jingles as I shelve new arrivals. I turn, customer smile ready, only to find Lennox standing in the history section, school backpack slung over one shoulder. Her eyes shine with unshed tears. You ruined everything. I continue shelving, hands steady despite my pounding heart. Hello to you too. Mom cries every night. Dad had to cancel his golf membership. My graduation party got downsized. She counts grievances on manicured fingers. Because of you. The accusation hangs between us, bitter as unripe fruit. I place the final book of biography of Eleanor Roosevelt and face my sister fully. Talk to Mom and Dad, I say, voice even. They stole from me. $40,000? That's crazy. They wouldn't. $42,000. Grandpa's retirement money meant for my college. The numbers no longer hurt to say. They took it, then charged me rent while working me to exhaustion. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. But the college fund. They said they saved for years. Ask them where that money came from. I straighten a row of classics. Ask them why I paid rent while you got allowance. It's not my fault. Her voice rises, drawing attention from the elderly man browsing nearby. I never said it was. Something in my calm reply deflates her anger. She slumps against the bookshelf, suddenly looking younger than 17. Everything's different now, she whispers. They fight all the time. Mom said we might have to sell the house. I should feel vindication. Instead, a hollow ache fills my chest. That's between you and them. You have to come back. Fix this. No. The word emerges without hesitation. I don't. Her face crumples, tears spilling over. So you're just abandoning me? Some sister. The accusation stings, but not enough to weaken my resolve. I'm a phone call away, Lennox. Always have been. But I won't live in that house again. She wipes her eyes angrily, mascara smudging across her cheek. They're telling everyone you had a nervous breakdown. A surprising laugh escapes me. Of course they are. I walk to the counter, find a business card, and write my number on the back. Here. This line stays open for you. Always. But Mom and Dad? They're blocked. She takes the card, staring at it like an unfamiliar object. I don't understand any of this. You will. I return to my shelving cart. Start by asking the right questions. After she leaves, I pull out my phone and block my parents' numbers with 2 decisive taps. The action brings no joy, only quiet certainty. The line to Lennox remains open, a single bridge to my old life, maintained on my terms alone. That night, sleeping beneath Grandpa's roof, I dream of empty rooms and full bookshelves, of keys returned and doors finally locked from the outside. The morning sun slants through the bookstore windows, casting golden rectangles across the hardwood floor. I arrange a display of mystery novels, my fingers lingering on the embossed cover of a first edition. 4 months at Grandpa's store, and already this space feels more like home than my childhood bedroom ever did. Special delivery, Grandpa calls, pushing through the door with a cardboard tray balancing 2 coffee cups. His silver hair catches the light as he sets the tray on the counter. 1 black coffee for me, 1 vanilla latte for the star employee. I accept the cup with both hands, savoring the warmth. Thanks, Grandpa. How's that American literature paper coming along? Turned it in yesterday. Professor Jackson said my analysis of Steinbeck was remarkably insightful. The words still feel strange in my mouth. Praise without qualification. Acknowledgement without strings. Not surprising. Grandpa taps his temple. You've got the Everett brain, sharp as they come. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I ignore it. That's the third time this morning, Grandpa notes, eyebrows raised above his reading glasses. I pull out the phone and glance at the screen. Lennox again. You going to answer this time? The question hangs between us as I stare at my sister's name. Weeks of silence since that day at the library. But also of her messages ranging from accusatory to pleading. This one simply reads, "Can we talk? Please." Not now, I say, sliding the phone back into my pocket. The new shipment needs processing. Grandpa doesn't push. Instead, he hands me the store keys. I'm trusting you to close up tonight. I've got that doctor's appointment at 4. The weight of the keys feels significant in my palm, trust made tangible. Not earned through exhaustion or paid for in $5 bills, but freely given. I'll be fine, I assure him, moving toward the storage room. I thought I might rearrange the classics section afterward. Group them by time period instead of just alphabetical. Make it yours, Grandpa says with a nod. This place could use a young person's touch. By evening, I've transformed the classics corner with wooden crates I found in storage, creating a stepped display that showcases leather-bound editions. My small potted fern sits atop the highest crate, adding a touch of green life to the aged pages below. My midterm grades arrived this afternoon, 3 as in a B+. Without the crushing fatigue of 60-hour work weeks, my brain functions again. Ideas flow. Words come easily. Sleep actually restores. When my phone buzzes again at 7, I'm balanced on a stepladder, arranging travel memoirs by continent. This time, I answer. Hello? Silence, then a shaky inhale. Ria? Lennox's voice sounds smaller than I remember. I'm here. My tone remains neutral, neither welcoming nor dismissive. I didn't know. The words rush out. About the money. About what they did. I swear, Ria, I didn't know. I close my eyes, one hand gripping the ladder rung. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Lennox? That I forgive you? That everything's fine now? No, she pauses. Maybe just that you believe me. I step down from the ladder, moving to the window seat where afternoon readers often linger. Outside, streetlights flicker on as dusk deepens. Can we meet somewhere? She asks into my silence. Not at home. Somewhere neutral. The request surprises me. Why? Because they've been lying to me too. My fingers tighten around the phone. About what? Everything. College. Money. Her voice cracks. You. We agree to meet at Copper Cup, a coffee shop equidistant between Grandpa's store and our parents' house. The following afternoon, I arrive 15 minutes early, claiming a corner table with clear sightlines to both the entrance and exit. Old habits. Lennox walks in 5 minutes late, her usual confidence diminished. Her hair hangs straight instead of styled, her clothes simple rather than trendy. She spots me and hesitates before approaching. Thanks for coming, she says, sliding into the seat across from me. I nod once, waiting. After you left, everything changed. She stares into her coffee cup. Dad said I couldn't have the blazer anymore. Mom said my allowance would have to wait. Then last week, I overheard them arguing about money, about having to pay back Grandpa. And? Mom said something about appearance money. That they'd spent it all keeping up appearances. Lennox looks up, her eyes rimmed red. Including my entire college fund. There never was one, Ria. They lied to both of us. The revelation settles between us like a third presence at the table. They made me get a job at the mall, she continues. Dad said I need to understand the value of $1, like it's some big life lesson and not just punishment for getting caught. I finish. She nods, a tear slipping down her cheek. How did you do it? Work so much and still keep your grades up? I'm failing 2 classes already. The question lacks her usual competitive edge. For the first time, Lennox looks at me not as a rival but as someone who survived something she's only beginning to understand. One day at a time, I answer, surprising myself with the lack of bitterness in my voice. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement. A recognition of our shared wounds, differently inflicted. As we talk, my phone lights up with yet another call from our father, the 7th this week. I silence it without looking, just as the bookstore keys shift in my pocket, a reminder of where I belong now and what I've survived to claim. I stand behind the counter at Everett's Books, watching sunlight stream through the newly installed skylights. 2 years have transformed this space and me along with it. The dated carpeting has given way to polished hardwood. Vintage reading lamps cast warm pools of light onto comfortable chairs. The air smells of paper, coffee, and possibility. Miss Everett, where would I find books on astronomy? A college freshman with anxious eyes approaches the counter. Second aisle, blue section. I point toward the science corner. Are you taking Professor Whitman's intro course? Her eyes widen. How did you know? Thursday evening student readings. I host them upstairs in the community room. I reach under the counter for a flyer. 7 o'clock. Free coffee and good company. She takes the flyer, smiling. I'll be there. After she walks away, I run my fingers along the polished wood of the counter. Mine. Not just the business, the apartment upstairs, too. Small but perfect, with windows overlooking Main Street and bookshelves lining every wall. No rent envelopes, no borrowed dresses, no empty refrigerator shelf with my name taped to it. The bell above the door chimes. Lennox walks in, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, her face free of makeup. Working 20 hours weekly at the campus coffee shop has stripped away some of her polish, replacing it with something more substantial. Hey, she approaches cautiously, always tentative in this space. I brought those marketing textbooks you wanted to look at. Our relationship remains a work in progress. She attends community college now, not the prestigious university our parents promised. The SUV was sold last year to help cover tuition. The allowance never materialized. Thanks. How's the psychology paper coming? I ask. Finished it yesterday after my shift. Pride flickers across her face. First day in the class. I nod, genuinely pleased for her. Good work. The phone rings, and I check the caller ID. Mom. Again. I let it go to voicemail like I've done for months. Their desperate excuses grow tiresome. How they meant to tell me about Grandpa's money, how they planned to pay it back someday, how they never meant to hurt me. Lennox notices but says nothing. She understands now. Some trust, once broken, stays fractured. The bell chimes again. Mrs. Holloway, my former literature teacher, enters with a stack of book club selections. Rhea, the store looks wonderful. She glances around appreciatively. I hardly recognize it. Thank you. We've expanded the online operation too. She sets her books on the counter. I tell my students about you, the quiet girl who graduated with honors while working full-time. I finished my business degree last month. I say, feeling a flush of pride. How did you manage it all? She asks. So many young people give up when things get difficult. I glance toward the back office where Grandpa sits reviewing inventory, his silver hair catching the light. I learned what truly matters. I answer simply. Later, after closing, I write in my journal while seated at the window overlooking Main Street. The words flow easily tonight. This life, this business, it was never theirs to take. The stairs creak as Grandpa makes his way up with our evening tea. This is our ritual planning tomorrow while the day's receipts settle. Sign company called, he says, setting down my cup. Installation tomorrow at 9. We move to the front window, looking down at the storefront below. The old Everett's Books sign will come down in the morning. Thank you for seeing me when they couldn't, I say quietly. Grandpa's weathered hand finds mine. The best investments are in people who show up. Tomorrow, the new sign goes up. Everett and Rhea's Books. Mine. At last.